Hello, welcome to episode 5 of TubeMix's album reviews ReCut, and today, well, we're sticking with the children's TV theme. Last episode was the Wombles, this episode was the Tweenies. They released a few singles, although didn't quite catch on the exact same success as the Wombles, but they did release 3 albums and released a few singles, and today I'll be looking at their album from 2002 called Everybody Dance. It's an interesting album, a mix of covers and originals. Obviously for the covers there's altered lyrics, and it's mostly dance music, but there is actually some good songs that would have potential, as you'll find out, as disco and as disco songs. Right, so without further ado, let's jump in and oh, you know what I'm gonna say, run the titles. So the first track is called Huffle Go Bad, and it got to number 20 in the UK singles chart in September 2002. Well, just a few months since the CBeebies channel launched, of course, because Tweenies moved from CBBC to CBeebies because, of course, well, you can see more about it on my video, but I'm sure you know, CBBC used to be a block on BBC 1 and 2 with the preschool programs and the junior programs, but then they split off and did their own thing at CBeebies and the CBBC channel in February 2002. Anyway, back to this song. So originally it's a funny one, this one. Unlike Bob the Builder's cover of Lou Bega's Mambo No. 5, which is a very well known song, and still to this day, you know, Mambo No. 5 still a big party favourite, which you could kind of get the thinking in covering it, and also it was fairly recent. This one is a bit of an odd one because it was originally written and recorded by Blair McKeegan in 1995, I think, and it only got to number 37 in the UK singles chart, so that's just into the top 40, which is not great, to be honest, and it's no wonder it's probably become a bit forgotten. And yeah, it must have been actually humiliating, because he got it to number 37, and then for some kids TV characters to take this single to number 20 in the UK singles chart, and then yeah, that's quite humiliation. Blair has had a really weird career. He started, well, if you remember Linda Bellingham's, God rest her soul, she was just brilliant, wasn't she? If you remember the OXO adverts in the 80s and 90s of there was a family. There was Linda Bellingham, and I think Michael Redfern was the name who played her husband in the adverts, and Blair was actually one of the children. And when those adverts stopped, he stopped acting and went into music, and Huffle Go Bad was that single, or well, was the only really big single, I suppose you could say. But he's actually gone into songwriting. He's actually wrote for the likes of Will Young. In fact, he wrote his hit Your Game, I think it's called. Think it's Your Game, This Game, something like that. I'm sure if you're familiar with Will Young, you'll know the song I mean. And this song, well, it's I suppose I would describe it as very Jamiroquai-esque, actually. It definitely makes me think of Jamiroquai's Virtual Insanity, that sort of acid jazz feel. Also, well, I suppose hip-hop, actually. If you like Will Smith, Boom, Shake the Room, I think you're going to really love this. If you like sort of New Jack Swing, like The Simpsons do the Bartman, or Bobby Brown's My Prerogative. It's if you like those, then I think you're gonna really love this one. Now, obviously, they've had to change some lyrics. In fact, Blair's original version is really quite mouthy, and some of it I can't actually tell what he's saying because he's just saying the words so fast that it just sounds like gobbledygook, some of it a little bit. But yeah, the Tweenies have actually, I can actually tell what they're saying. So yeah, obviously you can't have the Tweenies singing about beer, can you? So they changed lyrics to ice cream and disco lights and wearing a new dress. So yeah, and well, the funny thing is actually, most of the tracks prior to hearing this album I didn't even know existed. I knew Have Fun Go Mad because I had that on a CD. But apart from that, and it was on Tiny Pop actually, the music video, so I knew that one. But I didn't know the rest of the tracks. In fact, I only thought they did 3 tracks. Number 1, Best Friends Forever. Sorry, Do the Lollipop, mustn't forget that, written by Betty Boo, funnily enough, because it's a pastiche of a hit, Doing the Do. In fact, it even mentions that. And, well, this one, Have Fun Go Mad. But yeah, it's a really great song. It's just, I don't know, it always took me into a completely different world. I've always liked jazz, I think, as well, and that's probably why I've always liked this one. The saxophone solo. It's a great song. It's an odd song in places. I don't know. It's always felt odd about it. I don't know quite why that is, but it is a really great song. Really great song. And if you are on the decks at a party or wedding, I do actually recommend getting Blair's Have Fun Go Mad, and you might actually introduce people to that song, or maybe people have realised, I forgot that song. It's so great to hear about that again. I do recommend it. It is a really, really good one. Obviously, I don't think many people would be chuffed if you put the Tweenies on their wedding or party. Right, would I revisit this track? Yes, definitely yes. This and Blair's version are both brilliant. And according to the CD paper, it says that Blair mixed this as well. So that's very interesting, whether he was actually part of the Tweenies version of it, which makes you wonder, well, why didn't they get him to sing on it? Tweenies featuring Blair. Although, to be fair, the thing is, the Tweenies, and Blair would probably admit himself, why Have Fun Go Mad failed was because, well, he's a nobody, really. Unless you're a music nerd, like me, to be honest. I don't think you know who he is. You know some of his songs, but and maybe he wanted to sing on the track and they refused him. I don't know, but yeah, that would have been interesting. But also it could have potentially really given the kickstart it wanted. Anyway, he's obviously gone on to become a great songwriter, even though not successful as a performer. So yeah, all the best to him, I suppose. Right, let's move on. Okay, track 2 is called Shake Your Booties, and it's not the Casey and the Sunshine Band song, it's a completely different song. I think I would best describe it as a kid-friendly version to Donna Summer's Hot Stuff and Lady Marmalade. As you can probably tell, I'm not too fond of that song, but yeah, let's move on, shall we? Hints of George Michael's Outside, actually. That's probably the most prominent one. It's it's a great one. I think it's got a really good disco fit. And like many tracks on this album, you know, if they took away some of the electronicness, that's not even a word, but hey, it's I put it into the dictionary now. And auto-tune, I think it would make a really good classic disco track. So yeah. Sorry, just having a drink there. Right, so yes, I think it's a really good track. Would I revisit it again? Yes, I think I would actually. It's really catchy. It will get stuck in your head. Very memorable, which is what you want for a track, really. Right, let's move on. So the next track is called Play That Funky Music, Milo, and as you might have gathered, it's a cover of Wild Cherries' Play That Funky Music, with altered lyrics, of course, because yeah, you can't really have the Tweenies saying Play That Funky Music, white boy, can you? Or as I always thought it was for years, it doesn't make sense, this, but light bulb, it's like that, I don't know if you've ever seen Peter Kay, that sketch of misheard lyrics, so it's brilliant. I recommend you check that out. Anyway, back to this song. Well, you would have thought that this would have made more sense to be released as a single, because Play That Funky Music, Wild Cherry is a big favourite, you know, at discos and parties, I imagine, and it's still, you know, it's a very well known track. Yeah, and you would have thought that would have made more sense than Have Fun Go Mad, but I don't know, maybe Blair pitched it to them, and you know, I wouldn't blame him for, you know, because it got to 37, maybe he wanted to try and see how they go and saw potential with the song, I don't know, but yeah, so this, it's kind of a shame. There is some good bass work, although it does lose some of the great funk sound, because Play That Funky Music is a weird one. I love the song, but I can't stand the guy Rick Parazzi. I'm not sure if I pronounced his name right, frontman of Wild Cherry. I can't stand his voice at all. It's just too rough. It's like nails along a chalkboard. Yeah, sorry for introducing that image into your heads. Anyway, yeah, it's a shame this sort of ditches the funk sound for a bit more of a hip-hop sound, which is a shame, really, because I kind of do prefer this version, just because Milo, Bob Golding, is a much nicer voice for me to listen to than Rick Parazzi of Wild Cherry. But yeah, oh well, you know, you're not always going to like all the tracks, but still, despite having a bit of a more hip-hop sound, it's still a really good track. Would I revisit it? Yes, I think I would. Right, let's move on. Okay, so the next track is called Get Up, Get Down, and it's, well, I think it's a very good song, actually, and it doesn't mention any of the Tweenies, which is good. Which means it could work along as a standalone pop song for anybody, really. It reminds me of Moloko's Lady Hear Me Tonight. It reminds me heavily of that. Maybe also a bit Moloko's Sing It Back a little bit as well. Tracks around that time, that period. And on this album, I forgot to mention, so mainly the singing is done by Emma Weaver as Bella and Colleen Daly as Fizz. But on this track, Justin Fletcher, who you may know now as well, I mean, he's just, I don't think anyone could have predicted how big Mr. Tumble, his career would go as that. And he's just absolutely, well, he's become a veteran, hasn't he, of children's television and entertainment. And he's just absolutely fantastic, and long may it continue. So he, as Jake, takes lead vocals for this track, and yeah, it's a really good one. You know, I think if it wasn't the Tweenies, if you didn't know if it was the Tweenies, I think, like I said, you know, I think anyone could sing it, you know. Jocelyn Brown, Lee Holloway, even though I absolutely detest her voice, Christina Aguilera, it would fit well with her, although the thought of her singing it just doesn't make me feel well, so I better get that out of my head. Anyway, yeah, yeah, it's a great track. Would I revisit it? Yes, I think I would. See, the funny thing is, usually I'm not really a fan of dance music, but, well, I suppose this is sort of close to disco, isn't it? I like the dance songs that are close to disco, like, well, I mentioned Moloko and Mojo, and let's think, oh yeah, Shapeshifters, Lover's Theme, and Groove Jet, and people like that, songs like that. Right, let's move on. Okay, so the next track is called Do You Feel Like Dancing? And again, there's no mention of the Tweenies whatsoever. So again, this is an accessible track for you, you know, obviously, who usually just wouldn't even think about listening to the Tweenies. And the thought of listening to them would horrify you. No, this track is for you, actually. It's got a good dance disco feel. Sort of, if you think Alcazar's Crying at the Discotheque, or Armand Van Helden and Dwayne Hardman's You Don't Know Me. So, yeah, if you like those, I think you're going to really like this. And the Tweenies all sing together on this one, so there's no particular lead vocal part. Oh, no, sorry. Scrap that. Colin Daly as Fizz does. Sorry, yes. Completely just went out of my mind, but then got it back in just in time. Yeah, it's a really great track. Is it my favourite track? Not sure. Would I revisit it? Yes. I don't think there's any tracks that I wouldn't revisit on this album. Like I said, I would prefer a little less electronic effects and autotune, and for them to feel like proper 70s disco songs, because as I said, there's just so much potential with a lot of these tracks. But hey yo, it is what it is, and right, let's move on to the next track. Okay, the next track is called Wiggle It, and it's not a cover of the Two in a Room song. Not that at all. There's a nice callback actually to Ottowan's DISCO, but, well, spelling disco, in its letters, DISCO. Well, maybe it's a callback, or maybe they just thought it was good. Who knows? Maybe I'm, as a nerd, thinking too much. Anyway, yes, it's a great track. It's memorable, and it definitely gets stuck in your head. It's kind of a shame they do have to mention the Tweenies in the lyrics, because, well, I was thinking about this. It must be hard, mustn't it, if you've got kids' TV characters, but you also kind of want to turn them into pop stars, and you also want to assure the parents listening that, there's not going to be any, edgy stuff like, the proper pop stars. So it must be quite a balancing act, but to maybe get it, airplay on the radio as well. So yeah, it must have been a very tricky balance, and yeah, it can't be easy, because sometimes you have to. It's like they can't quite decide, can they? Are they pop stars, or are they sort of pretending to be pop stars, if you like? Or yeah, it's a difficult one, but anyway, yeah, it's a really great track, and yeah, I think it gets stuck in your head. It's memorable, and yeah, it's a great track. Right, let's move on. So the next track is called Boogie Wise, and It definitely, well, I'm just trying to think, the other track that reminded me heavily of George Michael's Outside. No, it's gone out of my head. I do apologise. If I remember, I'll tell you. It might come back. But yeah, this one actually does remind me of that song heavily as well. And yeah, it's a good one. It's a really good one, I think. Very memorable and again very catchy, and it will get stuck in your head. Which actually, it's good that this album has a lot of memorable songs actually, and they are catchy, most of them as well, which is what you want from an album. And you know, even if, like I said, you know, you're horrified at the thought of listening to the Tweenies, these songs are at least memorable and catchy, and you know, that's great. Yes, would I revisit this track? Yes, I think I would. Right, let's move on. So the next track is called Hip Hip Hooray, and for me, actually, this is actually one of the best tracks on this album. If you were a fan of Liberty X or S Club 7, which well, not really. I mean, I can tolerate their music, but because this is a Tweenies album and I used to watch the Tweenies, so I'll give this one a pass. But for me, actually, as a pop track, whatever your opinion of pop, this is a pretty perfect sounding track, actually. And Colleen Dahlia's Fizz really, really stands out for me for this one. Yeah, it's got that really great sound. It reminds me of Liberty X's Just a Little, actually. So yeah, it reminds me of that, and I'm sure various other S Club 7 songs that sound very similar to that. If I'm honest, there is a rap in the middle. I don't think it needs that really at all. It doesn't add anything, and it waters down the song for me. It just doesn't need. It just doesn't need to be there. But apart from that, yes, it's a very, very good track. And like I said, you know, I wouldn't usually listen to music the genre of this really, but for this album, it's really an outstanding track, and very, very good track. And we also get to hear some backing vocals that, well, I can't quite work out. It sounds like, well, obviously it probably won't be Samantha Mumba. I can't quite work out if it's one of the actresses, the actors playing the Tweenies doing it, using their normal voice, singing in their normal voice, basically, or whether it's another backing singer. I'm not quite sure, but yeah, it's a really great track, and something was really funny actually listening to the track. Now I'm not sure if it is a sound effect of an air horn, or whether Justin Fletcher's doodles or Jake making an air horn sound, but it's absolutely hilarious. Oh, it's just so funny, and I completely forgot that when I last listened to the track. So brilliant. And yeah, this one again, it's an accessible track, so for any wedding party, I actually think a lot of people, this would go down very well with them actually, even though they might suspect, oh, they've got a bit of a funny voices. And I think if you don't tell them the Tweenies, it's fine. Even if you do tell them the Tweenies, I think a lot of people who like S Club 7, Bring It All Back to You, that's the one that makes me think of that actually. See, it came into my head. And yeah, like I said, if you're using it for a party or wedding, I think everyone will get onto the floor to it. And yeah, it may not be the first choice you'd think of, but yeah, I think it's absolutely perfect for that. And it's very memorable, very catchy, and it will get stuck in your head. Right, so let's move on. Okay, so the next track is called Bounce, and I'd like to thank YouTube. Sorry, let me just see. It's Jonathan Klein. Yes, thank you very much, Jonathan Klein. for pointing me in the direction of this. I didn't know this was a cover. I thought this was an original song, but no, it's originally performed by Aaron Carter. It didn't chart over here, so yeah, and again, another very interesting song to cover. I get the feeling that some of these people who produce this album are generally very music fans. They're anoraks. In other words, they're like very obscure tracks. So it's an interesting one. It's a very catchy one. It's some interesting though. It's play the disco bongos. Yeah, it's a good one though, and I will actually listen to Aaron Carter's original version as well soon to see, you know, how similar it is in instrumentation and arrangement. Now, obviously, of course, they've had to change lyrics for the Tweenies version. But yeah, it's memorable and it will get stuck in your head like many songs on this album. And would I revisit it? Yes, I think I would. Right, let's move on. And so we come to the penultimate track called Party Right. It's got a very good tagline, the 2468, come on girls, don't be late, 3579, come on boys, it's party time. Which I think, well, that 2468 sort of thing, I heard that on a dance record, on the radio actually. But I don't know whether it's lifted from that or whether it's just lifted. I think it's to do with the Scouts, I imagine, or the Army, one of the two. Yeah, it's a really good track. Tell you what, Colleen Daly, she almost is channeling her inner diva. You know, Eva, you know, hits her voice quite powerfully, actually, in the bridge. Nearly channels her inner Mariah Carey and Whitney Houston, which is, if I was the producer in the studio, I'd be with a look of shock and absolute horror probably on my face, because, as you know, personally, I don't like the divas and their, you know, powerful voices. It's strange because heavy metal rock, I can, you know, I don't mind that. I love that, but for some reason it just is not right with me. So yeah, but never mind, that's just me. Anyway, back to the track, and yep, it's memorable. You won't forget it, and it's catchy like all the other tracks. I have to say, actually, this is a very good album in terms of songs. They're all memorable, and some really good vocal performances, I think, as well. Colleen Daly, for me, as Fizz, is probably the best singer out of the lot, followed by Emma Weaver, although, well, actually Bob Golding is good as Milo. Justin is Jake. Well, I don't know. I think not the greatest singer at using Jake's voice. However, he is quite a good singer at using his own voice. But yeah, Colleen for me is the standout vocalist and gives a great performance as Fizz. Right, let's move on to the next one. Oh, sorry, I've forgotten to say, would I revisit it? Yes, I would. Okay, and the final track I'm going to review, it's not the final track of the album, but I'll tell you why I won't review the final track of the album in a second. So the final track I am going to review is Everybody Come On. I suppose the best way to describe it would be a kid's version of ELO's All Over the World, although that's not really a bad song, really. In fact, yeah, I don't think it would look out of place with the Tweenies covering it, really. You know, having a party all over the world. Great song, by the way. And great band. Anyway, back to this song. Yes, it also reminds me, actually, of Luther Vandross and Janet Jackson's The Best Things in Life Are Free, actually. So you could easily sing the lyrics of that to this song, I think. So it's quite similar. There's quite a few sound effects, especially at the ending. I have to wait till they've... yeah, it's like, almost like they're at a firework display, you know, the way they're cheering and stuff. But Yeah, it's like, ooh, you know, sort of feeling with them. But feeling with them, yes. So, yeah, it's a great track, and like all the tracks on the album, it's instantly memorable. And it won't get out of your head, so it'll be stuck in your head. And you know, there's no mention of the Tweenies, so again, it's an accessible track. So yeah, perfect for any party or wedding or just generally listening to music. So the final track on the album is just a version of the Tweenies theme, really. So hey hey, are you ready to play? The instrumentation is a bit different to the TV show version, but there's not really much difference, and I didn't think it was worth reviewing it, as most of you, if you're fans of the Tweenies, well, you'll know it anyway. Same with the Bob the Builder video as well. So yeah, I'm not going to review that for that reason, but thank you for watching. I've really enjoyed this, really had a ball. And that's the end of the album reviews recuts, because if you remember, these were redone, you know, because of copyright problems. So that's the end of the album reviews recut. It isn't the end of the album reviews, no, because Ben Carney and I, a good friend of the channel, and absolutely have a laugh with him, we're going to review the Stone Roses at some point, so I'll ask him and see if we can get that thing sorted. And also with Jello Wheels, another good friend of the channel, if you watched any of the Football Central videos, which we absolutely had a laugh, all the quiz when I absolutely cocked up, probably the biggest cock up ever on YouTube and the internet, or one of them. Anyway, so he's got Fleetwood Mac's Rumours, you know, on vinyl, so you know, he'll be able to tell us what it's like from his end as well. So yeah, I hope you join me for that. But yep, and what else? Oh, and there's gonna be Christmas album. Sorry, I just sometimes I don't know what it is. It just something sets me off. Anyway, there'll be Christmas album reviews. Obviously, a long way off yet. Another round reviews, and of course Doctor Who videos as well, as we count down to the 13th Doctor's final battle. Big special to come with that, and I'll be reviewing the past couple of series and specials as well. And yeah, there is plenty to come on the channel, absolutely plenty. And also, all being well, the Pina Colada Festival. If not, then I've definitely got a bonus video lined up. Oh yeah, in fact, it's going to be another album review, because I'm going to be reviewing Everyone Loves Disney. Loads of people like Louis Armstrong and jazz. So how about Disney Songs the Satchmo Way from 1968? A great album. He is just brilliant as always, and some really great, very interesting takes on some classic Disney songs, and actually some Disney songs. Sorry, put my teeth back in. Some Disney songs that you will know, and and some you won't. Alright. Thank you for watching, guys. I'll see you in the next one. If you want to like, share, comment, and subscribe to the TubeMix YouTube channel. And I'll see you next time. Bye bye, everybody. Bye.